enjoyed it. Kids are working hard out there, guys. You'd be real proud of them. They're working through a lot of heat. It's been fun to watch them as we move the depth charts around, watching to compete to see who's going to get on the field and represent Georgia this fall on the football field. So far, the competitiveness has shined. We have some kids in a little bit better shape than others. Some are working themselves into shape. They're fighting through a lot of dings out there. We've seen a lot of good mental toughness as they demonstrate that play to play. It's been a lot of fun thus far, so we'll see how it goes. We're a weekend with our installations. The volume of offense we're asking our kids to know right now is tremendous. We're pumping a bunch of plays at them right now, trying to check their aptitude to see how many can learn and how much they can learn. As you guys well know, we're only as strong as the weakest link in that chain. So we figure out our individuals and what they're able to do, then we go from there. So it's been fun so far, learning a lot about this football team, all the young kids coming in and seeing how they're performing. So far so good. It's been exciting, and from that point on, I'll open it up for anything you guys have. Okay, thanks very much for coming. That's it. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Doing what?
Good to finally talk to you.
Oh, good.
Two questions. I mean, you're a very outspoken guy. Has it been difficult to kind of
not one bit.
Not yet. And obviously, you've been coaching quarterbacks and offense for a long time. Can you compare the situations you've inherited to many others, you know, where you got kind of a veteran guy and you got a really dynamic freshman?
Not really. This is a little unique that I think we have 3 kids that can go out and perform on the football field. And routinely for me, I have not had 3 guys that can go out and play. Now everybody has their opinion on the quarterback. It's it's polarizing position. You get the victories, you get told how great you are. You get the losses, you get told how bad you are. So that's kind of comes with it. But this is a unique situation with the age group of these 3 kids that we're competing with right now to find out who's going to play and who not. So it's been a lot of fun, and we're rotating them around, and they go from one group to the other, and they're competing hard. But for me, in my history, I would say it is a little unique because I like all 3 of these kids. On any given day, I like one a little bit more than the other. I told them yesterday, I got a little upset with them and said somebody needs to start emerging a little bit here, and showing a little bit more. As the volume comes in, it gets a little tougher on some of them. Some can handle a little more volume than others. That doesn't necessarily make you the best player and the one we're going to choose. But at the end of the day, every one of us as human beings, like quarterbacks, we have fleas. We're not all perfect, so they got to figure out what they do good and do as best they can and work on their weaknesses, and I feel comfortable in saying they're all doing that right now. So the competition's hot, and it's alive, it's very competitive, and it's been fun to watch them. But it is unique to me to have 3 of them right now battling for the spot.
So as you said, you have 3 quarterbacks who can potentially play a significant role this season. So what are some of the qualities you look for, and what are some of the factors that go into deciding who's going to take that?
Well, inevitably it gets to who can score points and who can secure the football. Because winning football games is so much about ball security. Here comes the cliche game. Who can secure the ball? Who throws it to our guys and not the opponent? Who shows that discipline to be able to make that decision? If I call a downfield throw and it isn't there, to check it down. Who can show the discipline to learn a new game plan week to week? Who can do those things? And ultimately, who can drive and lead 10 other men down into the end zone? So we're looking for that, and we're putting them in those environments to see who can do that. So who can secure the ball and who can move a group of men and lead them down to the end zone? Who can affect others in a real positive way? That's the best way to say it. And that's how we'll judge it at the end. That you quantify as much as you can. How this quarterback's on target this much. He's making this many good decisions. And I can put all the numbers on everything they do. But at the end of the day, it'll get down to Coach Smart making that decision on who he's wanting to go with some of my influence on that one way or the other. And it's not always about the math. Sometimes it's about a gut feeling what you're going to do. So at the end of the day, let them compete. It'll sort out when it sorts out. There's no timetable on this, and we'll figure out where it goes from there.
Coach, Bryce Ramsey's in a little bit of a unique situation, 3 different coordinators in 3 last years. How has he responded to you, and and picking up this offense, but also leading the offense on the field.
He's doing a fine job. I have no empathy. I've had 3 different schools in 3 years. What's the big deal? Grow up, kiddo. You know, if you want to play, if you want to go on and play, you're forced to learn, regardless of what style it is, who's the coordinator, none of that. Players play, coaches coach, administrators administrate. And there is no overlap. Do your job, do it the best of your ability, learn, work your butt off, strive to be the best you possibly can be, and see where it goes. Does it harm him in knowing more football in different systems? I've never got that feeling that's a negative. I've always felt like that's better. You have that ability to have something to fall back upon. Oh yeah, that's like this, that's like this. And I'll probably train them different than Mike or Brian did. It's just kind of the way we all have to do our things. But do I think he's behind the 8 ball and it's unique? Not one bit. I think it's a benefit to him.
Coach, Isaiah McKenzie is obviously a difference maker in the return game, but what have you seen from him in terms of improving as a receiver, and are there any plans to use him in any sort of special packages like Wildcat?
Well, I think anytime you got someone special with the ball, you're always looking for ways of getting the ball. He's good with that. He's demonstrated that year in, year out that he has that ability to do that. So we'll be finding ways to get Isaiah the ball. Things that I've noticed about Isaiah, he's a physical football player. Everybody associates physicality with big guys. This is a little guy that pound for pound is as strong as anybody on our team. It didn't bother him one bit to mix it up. So that's a good thing. He's attempting to become a better football player and a leader on our football team. It's interesting to watch his growth and maturity from the time we walked in the door to now. We've got him kind of quieted down a little bit. Isaiah likes to talk a lot. We prefer just to go play. So he's learning who we are. We're learning who he is. And I think he's doing a good job in that maturity and that growth. I expect him to be on the field playing football for us. Do they need to be specific packages? They might be, but also he can go out and play full time for us if we need him to do so.
Jimmy, you walk into a job where Jacob Eason's on the recruiting board. Can you talk about arriving here in December, kind of getting to know him pretty quickly, and then how you tried to manage him and get him to be the player that you wanted to be?
I'm flying down on a plane, throw the Pitt shirt off, put the Georgia shirt on, meet with him an hour later. So that's the world we live in. To everybody else, that's like craziness. For us, it isn't. You sell who you are. We've all, after 30-some years, have developed resumes, and some of my resume is good, some of it's not so good. Just like you guys, we're not different. I think people look at us as in a unique mode because our lives are so public that we're just employees and we're just workers. We have the same type of things, the goods and the bads everybody else does. So we get in here and we sit down, we talk a lot, and got to know Jacob and his family, and I enjoyed him a lot, and I think he felt comfortable that what we were going to try to do with him as far as developmental and the program we were going to try to put up for him would fit his needs, and so he stuck with us, and tickled to have him here. He's an extremely talented young man that's learning his way around and being a good quarterback.
Coach, how would you, according to tight ends go, how does this group compare to others you've had in the past? And in a perfect world, how would you see utilizing them all?
Oh, I think it's as deep as any group I've ever been around. They have the ability to do a lot of things. They can be inline blockers. We can detach them and throw them footballs as a wide receiver. They have a unique ability to learn. This is a pretty sharp room. You walk into that room, they have a high aptitude. It doesn't bother them to learn 14 new concepts in a day. They'll pick that up quickly. I mean, we got smart kids in that room, which at that position you need to have. Other than the quarterback spot, they'll be more demanded of the tight end position than any other position on our football team. They got to learn. They got to be a tackle in the run game and a wide out in the passing game. So I can see us in a lot of multiple tight end sets if needed. If that's the direction we need to go to win that football game, then I feel real comfortable doing that. What I'm looking for is all those pieces. If I got to play with 3 tight ends in a game to win, we can. If we got to play with 4 wide receivers in a game to win a game, we can. And that's what you do in recruiting. You try to develop enough depth in your program that you have enough players that when they go on the field, you feel comfortable when you're setting a game plan that you're not hindered by your personnel and saying, well, I'm not sure I can do that yet. And right now in our infant stages here, I'm trying to figure out how many of those wideouts we can win with, how many tight ends we can win with as we approach this season that's coming up on us pretty quick. But I feel real comfortable with the depth and the aptitude in that room.
Jim, as far as playmakers, you mentioned McKenzie, but how many guys like do you feel like you really have, especially with Sonny Michel questionable? Right?
You know, a playmaker, you know, that's interesting. I think people associate playmakers with people who are creative when they got the ball in their hand, you know. I think Isaiah Wynn is a tremendous playmaker in the front. He's a lightweight kid with great feet and great football intellect and seldom gets beat. He makes plays when I don't expect him to against leverage on a D lineman he shouldn't. So he's a great playmaker. We associate that with the ball. Do we have players that can do that? Yeah, we have guys that can run fast vertically that might not be as shaky. So their playmaking ability might be on vertical balls. We have these big tight ends that might be those third medium guys that are forced to make plays. The first round picks we associate that with, I don't know. Let's go play and find that out. But as far as having enough players to move the ball down the field, I feel comfortable saying I believe we'll be okay that way. We got enough players. I think coaches, we're always the first ones that we always want better players. You've never been a coordinator up here that doesn't want 10 great wideouts, 4 tight ends, 7 running backs, 4 quarterbacks, 20 linemen. We all want more players, want better, great quality players to win in the SEC with. And we'll continue to do that through recruiting, but I feel comfortable saying we should be able to find a way to utilize our talent to move the ball down the field. There's Hank Stram said it, matriculate.
To what extent, if any, is your decision at quarterback tied to the health of your top 2 tailbacks? And I ask that because would you be less inclined to put that first game responsibility on a freshman if you don't have that experience at tailback?
I think you'd be a fool if you didn't consider that a little bit early on. But I don't know how much it'll be weighted, but I don't know how much weight that'll carry in that decision. Inevitably, it's going to get down to which one of those boys can move the team down the field and score enough points. But that has to be considered, the health of the positions, whether it be a tackle or a running back or whatever it happens to be. Everything nothing's looked at in a vacuum. You know, everything is the totality of what you're dealing with. You know, what in the quarterback position is doesn't just affect our offense, it affects our football team. And coach is very much aware of that and sensitive to those issues, so we'll keep working our way through that. But yeah, I think you have to think about everything when you're picking quarterbacks. But I also don't think you should be it's just another one of the 11 positions. I tell the kids all the time at quarterback, your job is one job. You got to get the ball and deliver it to the playmakers. Either hand it to her or throw it to her. That's it. Don't overthink this thing. Don't think you got to do something outside the system. You got to do all that craziness. Just do your job and do it the best you can do.
Coach, what role did you have in convincing Coach Pittman to join staff, and what was the pitch to it?
Not much. I tried to convince him to stay. I didn't like him around here. Pain, but no, you guys know Sam and I's history. We're dear friends. We're good people. He's one of my best friends, and he's a heck of a line coach and an outstanding line recruiter. I always feel comfortable when Sam's with us. We're going to have good players, and he's going to coach them better than anybody else. So if I had any influence on it, I'm tickled that Kirby offered him the job, and we got him here. So he's a good football coach and a good man.
What was it about that relationship early on with Sam that maybe philosophically y'all agreed on a lot of things that has led to the success that you guys had at Tennessee and Arkansas?
Well, I don't think that we take life real seriously. I think we understand where football fits in the big picture. We're trying to help these young men grow up. We want to win football games and do the best that we can, but we can also laugh at ourselves a little bit. I think that his personality and my personality blend really well. And we understand and we desire the same things in life. We want to win football games, and that puts a smile on our face.
Hey Jim, what's going to happen? I mean, how are you anticipating using Nick sort of moving forward, whether it's today or in the Carolina game or whatever?
Nick Chubb.
Could he handle?
So
I don't know if there's another Nick on the team.
Yeah, there you go.
How do you anticipate using Nick Chubb moving forward?
Well, I think Nick has demonstrated in the past what a talented football player he is. I don't see us changing a lot of what's been done with him before. Nothing's broke there, so let's don't fix it. I mean, he can go downhill as a heavy running back, and that's what we're doing. He's out there on the field working every day to get himself in shape, and I feel comfortable we're on track of where they're at with the medical stuff. And I'm sure Coach will talk more about that when he gets here, but from my perspective, and I stay out all the medical questions, but at the end of the day, he's practicing hard like everybody else is, and I see Nick Chubb being the player that he's been before, and will continue to do so. I mean, he's a downhill running son of a gun, so let's hand him the ball and see what he can get done.
Jim, how do you evaluate the highs and lows of your offenses in terms of performance in Pittsburgh, Arkansas, Tennessee, and then the situation you walk into here? how is it, do you think?
I think that when you've been doing it as long as I have, you gotta watch yourself and don't get too stagnant. You believe in some certain beliefs in a pro style offense that right now the things that are in vogue in college football are a little foreign to some of the things you do. So I've got to force myself to stay educated constantly on the newest things, whether or not they fit in our system or not, and how they fit in our system is interesting. Everybody likes to do a lot of offense, but I look at it, you guys are going to find this hard to believe, but I'll draw the analogy of a pie, because I like pie. You just got so many pieces of this pie, what do you want to get good at? You know, so we're going to spend this much time in the run game, play action, quick game screens, where they all fit in, all the new RPOs, they take a lot of time. How much time do I have to do that? And you try to blend that with Coach Smart's philosophy offensively, what he's wanting us to get done to hopefully manufacture as good offense as we can. So I got to find time to educate myself on the new stuff going on out there in the spread offense world a little bit, because I do think there's a lot of good going on. There's a tremendous amount of creative people out there right now running offenses. But I do believe at the end of the day, to have a successful offense, you got to be very physical in this conference. You've got to win situational offense. You've got to win short yardage. You got to win goal line. When there's 3 minutes left in the game, you got to run the ball out so the defense don't have to go play. And to do that, in my history at Purdue, I was unable to be able to do that to win the close games. And that's when I went in the NFL and came back with a little different philosophical look on the game.
Got time, 2 more questions.
Coach, I'm curious, looking for an anecdote. You know, at one point, you don't know if you're going to have Nick Chubb, but you're probably thinking, well, I got Sony Michel, he's pretty good. And then late in the summer, then you hear about Sony. Just tell me how that's how you received that news and how it might have affected what your preparation.
Well, I just got off the river fly fishing when I got the news, and I changed to a wet fly that afternoon when I went out to try to catch some better trout. But what am I going to do about it? You know, I can't do nothing about injuries that take place with kids. I'll take you back a year earlier at the University of Pittsburgh. We had a tackle messing around after practice, dislocation of the knee, lost our starting right tackle for the season. You know, things happen in life. My goodness, these kids are kids. They're going to go out and do things, and things happen. You don't worry about them. You learn at my age and at our age, I would say, that you know the things you can control and the things you don't. Now, is it disappointing? Certainly, because I think Sonny's a super football player. And there were specific installation plays that we kind of had designed for him that I've slowed down and pushed back a little bit, depending on his health. But at the end of the day, I feel comfortable Sonny will be back and he'll be ready to roll, and I'm excited about it. I love the kid. I love his spirit. I love his attitude. Things happen, man. They happen. You move on. It's not for me to worry about it too much.
That said, though, do you draw on any of your experience of you going this season last year? You think you're going to have one of the best running backs in the country, and then
I did have for about half a quarter, and then what happens? Next guy in. You know, you try to get everybody ready with enough quality depth that you feel comfortable you can go win those football games, and that's all we can do as coaches. We can't do anything else, and injuries are part of the game, and you move on. Do I have a magic wand or a special formula? No, I hate it when these young men get hurt. It hurts me deeply when those things happen, but it is life, and you move right on and do the best that you can.